Time magazine called him the unsung hero behind the internet. CNN called him a father of the internet. President Bill Clinton called him one of the great minds of the information age. He has been voted history's greatest scientist of African descent. He is Philip Emeagwali. He's coming to Trinidad and Tobago to launch the 2008 Kwame Ture lecture series on Sunday, June 8th at the JFK Auditorium, Lewis in Augusta, 5 p.m. The Emancipation Support Committee invites you to come and hear this inspirational mind address the theme, Crossing New Frontiers to Conquer Today's Challenges. This lecture is one you cannot afford to miss. Admission is free, so be there on Sunday, June 8th, 5 p.m. at the JFK Auditorium, Lewis in Augusta.
In high-performance supercomputing, wizardry is making the impossible to compute possible to compute. The ensemble of 65,536 processors that were already available in the market that I experimentally discovered to be a new supercomputer and to be a new internet, and that I figured out how their processors could be programmed and harnessed as one seamless, cohesive whole supercomputer, were exclusively available to me alone. In the 1980s, that ensemble of 65,536 commodity processors was available to me alone because the ensemble was abandoned by the community of 25,000 vector processing supercomputer scientists that were led by Seymour Cray. That ensemble of processors was abandoned because it was then considered impossible to harness the potential supercomputer power of the slowest 65,536 processors in the world that merely performed 47,303 calculations per second per processor. In the 1980s, it was impossible to harness the supercomputer potential of the slowest processors and to use the speed of that new massively parallel processing supercomputer to solve otherwise unsolvable problems arising in mathematical physics. On the 4th of July, 1989, I mathematically and experimentally discovered how to solve 65,536 initial boundary value problems of modern calculus and of the most extreme scale computational physics. It made the news headlines that I discovered how to solve the toughest problems arising in mathematical physics and how to solve them at once or in parallel, and how to solve those tough problems together, and how to solve them at the then unheard of speed of 3.1 billion calculations per second. That speed was the world's fastest supercomputer speed of the 1980s. Before my discovery that occurred on the 4th of July 1989, it was indeed impossible to experimentally discover the potential power of the massively parallel processing supercomputer. It was then impossible to experimentally discover the aggregate power of 64 binary thousand processors. It was then impossible to experimentally discover how to harness those plentiful, powerful, and inexpensive processors that were already available in the market and how to harness them to solve the toughest problems arising in extreme-scale computational physics and mathematics. The June 14, 1976 issue of the Computer World magazine interviewed the supercomputer experts that were attending the 1976 National Computer Conference in New York City. The Computer World magazine asked those supercomputer experts if it will ever be possible to experimentally discover how to harness the potential of the parallel processing supercomputer, and if it will ever be possible to harness that supercomputer hopeful and harness that technology to experimentally discover the fastest computations that could be executed across an ensemble of processors. The unanimous opinion of those supercomputer experts was summed up in an article that was published in the June 14, 1976 issue of the Computer World. That Computer World article was written by E. Drake Lundell Jr., who was the computer industry editor of Computer World. That Computer World article was titled, quote, "Research in Parallel Processing Questioned as Waste of Time," unquote. The reason I was not discouraged by that Computer World article was that I was only 21 years old when it was published. Being young and foolish, I had the time to waste in the impossible pursuit of the massively parallel processing supercomputer. I spent the 14 years onward of 1976 conducting my research on how to parallel program a massively parallel processing supercomputer and how to parallel program that high-performance supercomputer to compress 180 computing years to just one supercomputing day.
Insightful and brilliant lecture.